President Trump will address a joint session of Congress on Tuesday as his second term gets off to a fast start.
And Democrats are already preparing their response with a plan to ramp up the resistance to Trump's agenda.
Madeleine Rivera joins us live from Washington. Maddie, good morning. What does the resistance look like?
Yeah, Democrats are divided over that. So President Trump is expected to highlight some of the work his administration has done and the rest of the work they want to do in his first address to Congress since retaking office. He has moved with lightning speed, wielding his executive authority to address the border and reshape the federal government. And his expansive use of that power has left Democrats wondering how to respond. Axios reports House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer do want members to attend the speech, with a +1. A congressional memo obtained by Axios asks House Democrats attending the joint address bring a guest who has been harmed by the Trump administration's early actions. But other Democrats reportedly are weighing not attending. Lawmakers who are supposedly leaning against or are undecided about going include Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren, and Massachusetts Senator Ed Markey, among others. Per the Washington Post, former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who notably tore apart the president's State of the Union address back in 2020, is now encouraging members to, quote, let the president stew in his own juice. Pelosi, who's still widely respected within the Democratic conference, reportedly wants Democrats to focus on the Republicans' budget framework. That GOP blueprint would enact the president's agenda while also call for spending cuts, which Democrats argue would slash programs like Medicaid. That, in Pelosi's view, would be a much more effective way for Democrats to respond rather than simply interrupting the president's speech. So we'll see. Charlie, Rachel, and Peter.
Thank you, Maddie.
Thank you, Maddie.
Maddie, could we keep Maddie up for 1 second?
Yeah.
I just wanted to double check the quote. You said that Nancy Pelosi wants Donald Trump to stew in his own juice?
That's according to the Washington Post. Yeah,
That's a quote. I love it. I saw Charlie and Peter. As soon as you said that, Maddie, they went down. Stew in juice.
I hadn't heard that.
Yeah,
That's colorful.
You definitely reported the juiciest part.
Yeah,
so
you sure did.
we're grateful to you for that, Maddie.
You got
Thanks,
it, of
Maddie.
course. You got it.
Well, who can forget Nancy Pelosi ripping up the speech? But you know what my favorite was? Remember this clap? That was so good.
So that person right here with the big ceremonial copy of the speech is the person who doesn't want any of the Democrats to protest this time. It almost makes it feel like she, even though she's just a backbencher now, rank and file member, not the speaker, not leadership, it makes it feel like she has not blessed any of the Democrats as the worthy successor to the Obama, Biden, Pelosi era. And I don't know who the next big Dem is going to be, but she doesn't want the wrong one.
Here's what the Washington Post said about this. They said, now a rank and file lawmaker, Pelosi retains a great degree of clout. To your point, Peter, inside of the Democrat caucus, younger lawmakers continue to seek her counsel with recent discussions, including warnings to not turn themselves into part of the story during Tuesday's speech, and urging them to narrow their party's message in next year's midterm elections. Any demonstration of disagreement, whether it's visual or whatever, just let him stew in his own juice, and don't be any grist for the mill to say this was inappropriate, Pelosi said Thursday. So really rich coming from she who ripped up the speech and had the funny clap. I'll say this.
Alligator clap.
The alligator clap was so good. I have to admit, for about 3 weeks after that, that's all I did.
Every time Sean opened his mouth, you're like, this is great.
I did the clap. Here's why I think some of them are not going to go. Usually, a State of the Union address this early in is just like, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And it's a lot of fantasy talk about all the things they think they're going to do, hope they're going to do. Donald Trump is going to show up there on Tuesday, and he's going to have solid accomplishments that have been done in just 1 month, more than what many presidents get done in even 3 years. It's remarkable. We talked earlier about the border, Charlie. I mean, it's gone down like 90-some% in terms of illegal crossings. Just huge accomplishments. And then all the money saved on top of that.
Such a great point. And the idea of him stewing in his juices, the juices of success.
Yeah.
The juices of winning. You just get him a hot tub of his juices of winning and success, and he can just sit up in there and, like you say, and that's such a great point. It'll be the first time ever that you have somebody in that. And of course, this is not a State of the Union address. This is a joint address to Congress. It's a slightly different title because he's not been there for more than, as you say, 2 months, matter of weeks. But he's going to actually be talking about successes.
Yeah.
Wins.
He said we would get tired of winning.
Yeah.
Remember?
My favorite Nancy Pelosi fun fact.
Yeah.
You know that what she has for lunch every day?
What?
Oh, no.
A hot dog.
Does she?
Does she really?
Every day.
Well, that's what they have
Every
inside
day.
of the cloakroom. They serve hot dogs inside the cloakroom.
Well,
Did you not know that?
That is
I don't
some
think I
serious
knew that.
reporting right there.
Thank you.
Very impressed by that.
I have a husband who has snuck me in there many times, and the kids. And yes, they serve hot dogs. And
is it free?
Yeah.
no, you have to.
You have to pay for the
You
hot
have to
dog.
pay for your hot dog
In the cloakroom, you
in
do?
the cloakroom. Yes, you do. You pay for your hot dog.
Really?
Yes, you do.
Because I remember when, like, if kids go in there, they get ice cream. They don't have to pay for the ice cream.
No.
I bet you all your kids.
No,
have
you
that?
know who pays for it? We do.
I'm telling
We
you,
are
innocent
it is
taxpayer.
not free. You have to pay for your own hot dog, but that is what they serve. So I'm imagining that's where she's getting the hot dog.
She's been there a long time, so.
So don't
Well, she
miss.
has I'm going to tell you this too.
Yeah.
If she's eating hot dogs for lunch, that woman, say what you will about her, she's very trim. She still has,
Sharp
little
mind.
spring in her step.
She's very sharp-minded. I mean, she's
Yeah, no. I mean,
very impressive.
You can say a lot of things.
You know
about
how
her,
much
but
older?
looking
She's
young.
older than Joe Biden.
I know.
It's so amazing.
I
That
know.
will always amaze me.
The other one that is aging backwards is Maxine Waters. I'm sorry. Again, another person
Well,
looking
if you're
good.
starting out at 0, it's really not that hard. It's less hard.
How old is? Can somebody tell us how old Maxine Waters is? In the back there?
Probably look at that really quick. Maxine Waters, Face ID.
But the great thing is, all their bank accounts are going in the right direction.
She's
okay.
86.
She's 86. She looks amazing. You're right. Nancy Pelosi's aging backwards. Her bank account is going the other way.
Am I the only one getting yelled at right now? I think I'm the only one getting
They
yelled.
want us to
Wait,
promote
tune
the
in
presidential
to the-
joint address to Congress. I will be up late for this at the White House. It airs Tuesday at 9 p.m. on the Fox News Channel.
And I will be there. And sorry, I derailed this entire segment.
No, I shouldn't have
It was
mentioned
far-
the hot dog.
Beauty
It
and
was my
Fitness. I don't know
fault.
how I did that.